There we go. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest with us today, one who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother Larry Muhammad, who was a captain in the Nation of Islam for years, and we look forward to hearing his life journey. My first question for you, sir, is when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Well, brother, I heard the teachings, I believe it was 1984, 1985. Brother Edward, who was the student minister of Baltimore City, Muhammad, well, we was a study group then, study group number 6. He gave me a cassette tape. I was working in the fire department, brother. I was a firefighter paramedic. And he came by, he gave me a cassette tape. I told him, I said, okay, I'll listen to it. It took me about 2 months to actually sit down and listen to the tape. And as I was listening to the tape, well, let me go ahead of that. Prior to that, I read some articles about the minister when he spoke at Morgan State. And it was negative, you know? So as I started listening to the tape, I said, hold on, I agree with those things. You know, I listened to it and I said, well, my mother and father taught us like this. You know, stand up. Don't be cowards, man. And then most of all, you know, don't be a clown. You know, you don't have to, yes, sir. So I listened to it, brother, and I said, man, this man is not lying. I said, that's how I felt. I was in the fire department at that time, and I saw a lot of injustice being done to Black firefighters, you know, Black paramedics. We was always at the bottom, and I knew a lot of it was our fault. We didn't stand up. Like when certain people came around, man, we became agitated. And you know, that old saying, don't scratch where you don't itch.
Yes, sir.
Well, I seen a lot of that. They was good brothers though. That's the point, good sisters. And they was into the work of saving lives. So after hearing that tape, brother, I went up to Park Heights in Baltimore City. That's where the study group was at. And that was the first time I ever heard the teachings live. And that was from Brother Edward Muhammad.
All praises to Allah. Okay, so that's my first time ever hearing that name, Brother Edward. So Brother Edward was the minister in Baltimore at that time.
He was, yes. Today we call him student ministers. He was a student minister of a study group. He wasn't a mosque yet.
Yes, sir, Brother Edward. Okay, got it. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna write that down because I got to figure out. We tracing the history back. We learning out the Nation of Islam history from the rebuilding. Thank you, sir. All right. Yes, okay, you hear the teachings. What was it about? What was it about the teachings that made you accept it?
Well, I can go back and tell you this here, brother. I was born in Harlem, New York, and we lived in the Bronx. My mother used to go to Harlem, the Bronx, and she used to go to the Nation stores. And I used to go with her some Saturdays. And I remember telling my mother this. I was a little boy, and I told my mother I was going to be a Black Muslim. That's what they called them back then, you know? And I remember, Brother Joshua, my mother grabbed my arm and snatched me and said, come on, boy. And I brought it back to her attention when I was about 22 years old. Then I was a lieutenant in the Nation of Islam. And I recalled that and I shared it with my mother. Tears ran down her eyes, brother. She actually remembered it. And I did. So it was something about the picture of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We didn't have one in our house. The thing is, my mother was from the South. And, you know, she lost her mother and father when she was young, so she was an orphan. And her grandmother, which is my great-grandmother, raised her. My great-grandmother was actually a physical child born in slavery. So, you know, my grandmother could only teach her what she knew back then. And one thing that my mother disliked was the fact she had to call white children ma'am and sir. So she received a lot of punishment for that.
Mm.
And when she was probably around 15 years old, she got married and moved to Harlem, New York. And that's how we started our journey up north.
All praise to yes, sir. And people are showing you love all across the country. My sister Miriam, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Naima, Sister Qasim, Akbar. Thank you all. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. Okay, so now you're in a study group in Baltimore before its official Mosque number 6. What was it like? Who were the student laborers at that time, and who trained you since it wasn't a mosque yet?
Well, we had Brother Edward as the student minister. We had Brother Nadar. He was the secretary, student secretary.
Mm.
We had Sister Sheila. I can't recall her holy name, brother.
Yes, sir.
She married Dr. Ali.
Yes, sir.
And Sister Captain at that time, Sister Captain was Sister Sheila. And Brother Gregory was the first officer. We didn't have a Brother Captain. He was the first officer in charge. Now, when I got to the Nation of Islam, brother, I was already like kind of disciplined, you know. I lived in a household where moms and pops didn't accept a lot of nonsense. We still did what children do when moms and pops wasn't away. The thing is, you know, they expected a certain amount out of us. We was always trained, not in the words of the nation, never be the aggressive words on action. The thing is, we was always trained, never allow nobody to bully you, and that we had the right to fight back. That's another reason when I heard the minister, it just set in with the way I was brought up.
Yes,
you
sir.
know, you can't slap my cheek and expect for me to turn the other cheek. You're going to slap me again.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? And if you steal my wallet, if I got $20 in my shoes, I'm not going to call you back and say, good fella, come get this $20. That never made sense to me coming up as a child. Now, I was in the military. I joined the military 18 years old. You know, I didn't want to work in the factories of New York. You know, that's the only thing they had for young people, the factory. I was too small for sports to get a scholarship. Back then, you know, we couldn't go online and fill out a grant and get money for college. So we went straight to the factories, and I saw my cousins, young cousins, dying of cancer from those factories. That was up north, yes. And I knew that wasn't for me. I wanted to get out of New York. I thought I was going to see the world. I've seen some of it. You know, the point is, as a young person, I still wanted more discipline. I wanted to meet other people. So I joined the U.S. Army out of high school. And I received a lot of my discipline because I was a paratrooper. You know, and when you're in those kind of units, it's strictly strike force, you know, and being young, it was something different. I enjoyed it. I had a lack of consciousness on the level that I received in the nation. The thing is, I was Black before I joined the military. And even in the Nation of Islam, brother, let me share this with you. We had Black soldiers. We called ourselves brothers. And we looked out for each other. We never, yes, sir. We never forgot who we was around. You know, moms and pops taught us, you know, trust the white man as far as you can throw him. You know, we can't pick him up and throw him but so far. And also trust him as far as you can see him. So that was ingrained in us. I meant to say ingrained in us, brother.
Excellent. Yes, sir. And people are showing you love all across the country. Thank you, Sister Cynthia, Holly Selassie, who's watching with us, and thank you all. We can't wait to put this on YouTube. Okay, when was the first time that you actually got to see the Most Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan come to Baltimore? What was that like back in the days before there was the entourage of the E team and all that put together. You in 84, 80, the early 80s. What was it like to have the minister come in to the East Coast or to the Mid-Atlantic region during that time period?
Well, brother, the first time I seen the minister, I looked at him and I said, that's a man.
Mm.
You know, when I listened to him, I saw a man that loved us. I could sense his love because I had a father in the house.
Mm.
You know, I heard a man that was fair and stern at the same time. And I decided, brother, myself and some other brothers, because we had Washington, D.C., Muhammad Mosque number 4, as an example in front of us. I decided to help Brother Akil, you know, who came out of number 4. He became the local captain of Muhammad Mosque number 6. Your father appointed him. Your father, Sharif, he appointed him. He was my regional captain. The first time I ever met a regional captain was your father. And when the minister would travel, brother, we would travel with him. That was before the E team. And we traveled with him. We just felt obligated to be with the minister. You know, we know Allah is protecting him. The thing is, we wanted to be that extended force. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that they see the presence of men and women who stood up for truth. And most of all, we was not afraid of the slave master.
Yes, beautiful. Sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So what was it back then, or when was it, like in the 80s and early rebuilding of the nation, that you went from seeing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from maybe being a political leader or an activist to someone who was in fact divinely guided? Like what was it about him? When was it that you recognized, okay, this is somebody, you know, the spiritual?
Well, brother, I believe it was 1987. 1987. I took my son. He was 4 years old. I took him up to Park Heights. I didn't take my wife. I went up there first myself. I wanted to see what it was about. Then I took my son, who was 4 years old, and I took him up to Park Heights, and I told him, I said, I'm joining the Nation of Islam today. And when I joined the Nation of Islam, brother, I actually was wearing my work uniform from the fire department. I took a 2-hour break, went to the meeting. When I went back, I was not joined, but I told them my intentions of joining. And I believe, like I said, from that first tape, brother, that I heard the minister voice somewhere. It was spiritual. And I knew that that was a man that was telling the truth. When I would hear his voice, brother, I would become relaxed. And at the same time, I could hear those drum beats, the war spirit inside this little black man. And I knew he was right for me. So I would say, let's say about 87.
87, yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. Okay, so now the media is promoting, many people are attacking the minister, and now he wants to go on added up tours, and he wants to do, you know, tour across the country. Have you ever been faced with fear? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
Well, brother, I'm faced with fear all the time. But see, I have the minister words locked in here. When you faced with fear, call on the law. Wow. That's the first thing we learn. Now, I even ran into opposition in the fire department, threatened me with the job and everything, lost the job. I still traveled with the minister. I had enough of vacation days. You know what I'm saying? I was taking care of my family. So, you know, I traveled with the minister, brother, and I can share this with you. I learned something about fear when I was in the military, a life and death experience. I jumped out of a C-130, fully loaded, fully ammo pack. I mean, I had what is called the equipment bag on me. and I got hit in the air by another paratrooper, and it knocked me out cold. My chute came open because it was on the static line. The thing is, I was tangled up with another paratrooper. And in order to escape death, you have to think, and your instinct will kick in. And by the grace of God, brother, I don't know how this happened. I was spinning at the bottom, and all at once I broke loose. And I had enough of my chute left that I could turn that chute around a little, drop that bag off of me. The bag is attached to either a 25-foot rope or 35-foot rope to get it away from you. And I landed, brother. I landed so hard, brother Joshua, that I felt every bone in my body shake my teeth. And all I could do, is just call on God. I didn't know his name was Alani, but I knew it was a God. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And, I even suffered today from those injuries. The thing is, I'm blessed by God because I didn't realize I had a traumatic brain injury back then. I didn't realize I had PTSD. If I would have known that and would have been thinking like a Negro, I probably would have accepted benefits and would not have accomplished the things I did. My love for Black people, my love for the Nation of Islam, my love, brother, for God and God love for me. So I'm grateful that I just found these things out. I hope I answered your question, brother.
Absolutely, sir. Man, I didn't know. Man, that's powerful. Yes, sir. Man, Allah continue to bless you and your family. And sir, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we want to thank you for your sacrifice and the sacrifices of your family as well. Please extend to them the greetings for help to be 10 toes down to help establish Islam here in North America. We thank Allah for you all. We thank Allah for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
My next question is, how did you climb the ranks to become a student captain in the Nation of Islam?
Well, brother, by having, like I said, the household I came out of, 10 of us. And that old song James Brown made, Papa Don't Take No Mess, that was real. That was real, brother. Here, that was real, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
So we had a discipline. And the military, all the life adventures I went through prepared me for the Nation of Islam. When you in the fire department, that's semi-military. And it's one of those things you have to be ready and prepared at all times. So I took some of that. And then I met good brothers, man, good young brothers. Remember, we was a study group. So none of us really knew the way of the Nation of Islam. So we got together, we put our nickels, dime together, and we started traveling. And Brother Akil and your father, they saw some of the influence that I had with the men and, natural love. And the men would follow me. So I was in Miami and Brother Akil came to me after the meeting and he said, Brother Larry, he said, when you get back to Baltimore, I was a lieutenant then, the Moss investigator. He said, when you get back to Baltimore, I'm making you the first officer. I argued with Brother Akil. I pleaded, please, brother, I don't want to do that. And Brother Akil said, Brother Larry, he said, when you get back, you're going to be the first officer. I said, okay, sir. I said, can you at least do this for me? Let me pick a couple of the lieutenants that we can build together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And he said yes. And I would say this here, brother, with studying the minister, studying the love of Mother Khadijah for a man that shared her husband with us, man. I used to look at that and I used to say, man, Brother Mustafa would be up there. I would see his children. And I would say they really sharing their father with us. I didn't know too much about, excuse me, yes, sir. I didn't know too much about the behavior of the messenger there. I was a new guy in the nation. But I would look at them, brother, and sometime I would see Mother Khadijah shed a tear, and that would hurt me. Because I love my mother, brother.
Yes, sir.
I am so grateful for the male, that man and that woman that gave birth to me. I love them, brother. You know, and I looked and I said, man, they sacrificing, man. And I named my daughter after Mother Khadijah. Yes, sir. And I named my baby son after Brother Mustafa, because I saw, yes, sir. And I sincerely did that, brother, because I saw what they was giving up just so that we could have a man. And a man would raise us to be men. You know, I love the honorable minister, the honorable minister, Louis Farrakhan. I love him, brother. He taught me how to be able to say no when I mean it. And I don't have to smile to get people attention, brother. I can be a black man, a living black man. So I loved him, brother. Now back to climbing the ranks, I went from first officer. I think I stayed a first officer for about 8 or 9 years. And Brother Kill became the regional captain. Your father became the supreme captain. And Brother Kill, I wanted to do something in the captain family, you know, so I went to him and I asked him, I said, brother, I said, can I look for a city? I wanted to do something, honestly, you know, because he taught me a lot as a first officer. And he looked, he said, no, brother, I'm making you the local captain. And I became the local captain, brother. I believe I made it to Washington, D.C. as the local captain over there, 1993, while we was preparing for the Million Man March. And it was different. Brother, preparing for that Million Man March, we didn't have a manual or nothing, but we had the minister word. You know, we had the minister word, and traveling with him on his men only tour, it allowed us to see how the nation was responding to him. It also allowed us to see the enemy doing his job. And see, I don't have a problem, brother, with the enemy doing his job. You have to understand, I was an elite soldier. So from a military perspective, you know, we have to understand, just like we're army, we're force, they're going to do their thing. We just have to outdo them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we walking with a man of God. And see, I always had this philosophy, brother Joshua. See, we know the end. They know it too, but they lying to this. We know what the outcome going to be. So we can soldier until Allah call us back. You know, we got brothers like yourself. Savior's Day, I watched those babies in those cribs. I watched those babies throughout Savior's Day, and I said the nation will never die. Never die. So that's how I climbed through the ranks, my brother.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So let's stay with the Million Man March.
Yes, sir.
Not when you see the climate, you see the positive effect of the most he's having on the people, the believers are having on the people, but then you see the opposition. How did the Million Man March personally affect you through all of the trials, ups and downs? How did it personally affect you? And how did it affect the community after it was over?
Well, brother, the Million Man March, like I said, was different. I knew that the minister said it. I had faith in the minister by then. He said that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad told him to do that. I sat front roster, brother, front roster when the minister made that speech.
Mm.
Yes, I said front roster, so I heard it. And it, you know, I never have known the minister to be a liar. So when he says something, brother, I know it will manifest. The minister words have never failed us. Sometimes we fail the mission, but his words do not fail. And I know when the minister is speaking, brother, he's speaking the words of Master Father Muhammad in the exalted Christ. I know this. I don't need nobody to tell me to believe it. I know it.
Mm.
And I am willing to sacrifice my life on it. Now, back to the Million Man March. The day of the Million Man March, brother, it was myself and a few brothers. I was out on that field when it looked like it was maybe 100 people. And somewhere around 10:30, 11 o'clock, it started looking like it was a desert with heat wave rolling across the top of it. I looked, brother, and I said, you know what? Everybody talk about miracles. This is the miracle.
Yes, sir.
This is the miracle right here. When I got up that morning, brother, I didn't expect to live. I didn't care. My son asked me, could he come there? I followed the instruction, told him, stay home, watch it on television. By being the local captain, I knew we had tanks surrounding the place. I knew some of the intelligence based upon my pay grade. You understand?
Yes, sir.
What I was allowed to know. So I understood some of the opposition. Brother Josh, to be a part of that day, I didn't care if I died that day. I only asked God that if I have to die, allow me to entertain my opposer. That was the only thing, but I did not care, brother. And for our children's sake and to free Black people, brother, see, I already lived and died. So I don't entertain that, man.
Mm. Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. Yes, sir. And people showing you love all across the country. Yes, sir. The best of times. Teaching, you're preaching. Praise be to Allah. People. Thank you. We have okay, boom. That's after the Million Man March. We want to come to choosing training the brothers. Because you were captain in an intense time, and then you have young people all across the country who want to go into leadership and want to be laborers and want to help build the nation. What advice would you give on training the next generation?
Well, the advice that I would give, brother, first of all, be truthful. You know, if we are given an assignment, study it. The messenger said the white man make no excuses. We're going to have to fight harder than the white man because we already know the outcome. We know the victory. Be truthful to the men. Set an example for the young soldiers and the sisters that's coming in the Nation of Islam, you know, and then most of all, we're going to have to love the brotherhood more. We have to love the brotherhood much more, and the sisterhood, you know, we have to, brother. And then most of all, we have to understand that there's two nations present. And we have to teach the new recruit to honor, respect, and to be proud of their nation. And then most of all, like John F. Kennedy said, I believe he said something about what you might have to help me out with that one.
Yes, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Well, at the same token, you know what the laborers need to also ask? What is it that the new convert want to bring to the Nation of Islam? Because we have to fulfill the things that's in them. Because as they grow and expand their industry, if they love the nation, we have it. We have to turn around and take over these industries, brother. You know, when you go look at the dope busters, I remember when they first started, brother. I remember being at Mayfair, Potomac, and Washington, D.C.
Mm.
I remember your father being out there, Brother Akil. I remember Brother Tim. He was the first officer over there. And a host of others, brother, that I can't call their name right now. But the thing is, we didn't really know too much. What we had, brother, was our belief in Allah. We had good leadership. We knew the minister was backing it. And we went out there, we put our life on the line. We developed, brother, as we went through situations. We didn't quit. We developed as we was going through it. What I did, brother, I started reading books from the industry so that I can be a better brother. If I have men that's up under my leadership, brother, my major concern was in the morning when I would leave out. Will I take somebody, son, husband, or father to the penitentiary to their death by a premature decision? Then most of all, just being a local captain, I had to think about what would my regional captain think about this? What would the supreme captain think about this? And then all the way up to the minister desk, brother. So the decisions I made, I tried to be conscious. I always tried to make sure that I didn't do nothing that would displease the minister and most of all embarrass our nation. So for the new recruits, the older brothers, we're going to have to become big brothers in the rank. Big sisters in the ranks. We don't need no white boy to come give us a grant. We take those and we treat them fair. And most of all, like I'm saying, we be honest, brother. Let them grow up, man. You know, influence them to go to the best schools. You know, I like the way the minister said, yes, sir. I like the way the minister said, brother, do something big. The master want to show his presence through us.
Yes, sir.
So to say that, brother, I don't want to just die living on old work. See, I want to, if Allah bless me, I want to open up a new avenue, brother, in the security industry so that younger brothers can come through and sisters and walk on top of that. See, I need to do something big, brother, in that industry. Brother, I've been in security for, since I was 18, the military, and never stopped. Even when they took the contracts, brother, I did volunteer work. You know what I'm saying? And I still do it. And I'm 65 now. So I've been doing it for a minute.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. People showing you love. The Short Truth Teach. Thanks, Sister Closum. Thank you, Sister Naima. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. We have a quick 60-second commercial break, sir, and then we're coming right back to you. I want to thank all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast this month for every like, every share, every subscription, every anonymous people donation on Cash App. Thank you all. We're coming right back to our brother, Student Captain.
Television and film editing. Please reach out to him if you need any of those services. Sister Miriam's ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book, and now Spanish book. All three available on Amazon.com. Sister Naima's Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country, right here in the studios of Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Henry Carter's King Henry Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad's COVID-19 disinfected cleaning services out of Chicago. Student Minister Sharif Muhammad's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, available on adulsharif.com. And lastly, Brother Joshua Muhammad's book, Cleopatra, as well as No Father, No Excuse, both available on Amazon.
Thank you all for every like, share, subscription. Right back to our brother. People, thank you everybody who's watching. My next question for you, sir, is what has been the greatest trial in your life, and how have you been able to overcome that trial, sir?
Well, brother, the greatest trial was for me. I lost my father during the Million Man March.
Mm.
And well, he laid the way for me to accept losing my mother. And right after I lost my mother, I lost my baby daughter, who passed away less than 6 months after her. That was a trial, brother. You know, sometime when you're dealing with a trial, you don't even realize you in it. You know, and yeah, it was hard times. And I had to, after studying some of the effects of the Million Man March, I had to get my household back together. I have sons. My oldest, I have 5 children living. Six, that's right, 6, because I'm remarried.
Mm.
You know, the thing is, that was the hardest time that I can recall in my life. You know, and I was dealing with a state of depression. And let me tell you what happened, brother. That's why I will always love my mother and father. I heard my mother's voice. I didn't know I was dealing with depression because my daughter died right after. I knew I would go to work, leave NOI security, go back home, sit down. And, you know, I just wanted quiet time. And I remember after a while, Brother Josh, I heard my mother's voice just as plain as she was standing in front of me. My mother's voice told me to get off my backside, get up and do something because I'm not grieving for her. That was my own selfishness. And that started reversing the cycle I was going through. You know, because I never really had to deal with death, brother, in my family, my immediate family prior to my father dying. So that was the first time something that close ever touched us. And that was a trial, brother. It was a trial, even when people would come and say, you know, Brother Larry, I love you or whatever. I heard their words. And when they would say, you know, I understand, I know what you're going through. And I used to say, man, I'm glad you do, because I don't.
Mm.
You know, yeah, it was new to me, brother, but I knew for a fact I couldn't give up. I had other children. I had a household, the Nation of Islam, and then most of all, I wasn't ready to die. You understand? I don't want to die no punk death.
Yes, sir.
So that right there, brother, I would say was the hardest time in my life. And I'm happy that I made it through, you know, when believers and some of the people who sympathize with us, when they go through things, I can share sometime that moment if it fit right, if I feel the spirit is right, you know. So it was a learning lesson for me also, brother. And my children love me. See, that's the point.
Yes, sir.
I knew my children needed me and they loved me. And I love them and I love the children that came from them because I'm a grandfather. I have 10 grandchildren, brother.
Beautiful. All praises to Allah. Yes, sir. Okay, let's stay right there. How has being a grandfather impacted your life?
Well, that's a good question. Because I don't really self-analyze myself, but I'm going to try to do this here. I know more than I knew when I had my children.
Mm.
I'm more involved in making sure that they climb through the industries, you know, by me having the love of all of my children. I'm a Black man who children love him and they show it, and I love them. I love my children. And even today, brother, I take my granddaughter to school, pick her up. I take my grandson to school, pick them up, the ones who's in Illinois with me. And it just makes me happy because my father did not live to see my grandchildren. And he was the rock of our family, brother.
Mm.
And to know that his tree have grown branches. And today, branches that's relevant. You know what I'm saying? Not just existing. And if I can go back a moment, brother, another thing that made me join the Nation of Islam, I wanted to make my mother womb relevant.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm the first person in my family out of the 10 that Allah called to Islam. And I didn't want my mother children to amount to nothing. So after hearing the minister, the voice kept reminding me, man, stirring up inside of me that, brother, you got to be a man. You know, we can grow up and look like a man. But I knew a lot of the things that I did in the firehouse and started witnessing, becoming conscious, witnessing how Black people behaved, especially when white people of authority came around. No, brother, I wasn't going to do that. So I wanted to be a man, and I had the best Black man in front of me as a model to study and love.
Beautiful. All praise be to Allah. Okay. Yes, sir. You speak very highly of your parents, as you should. What is your mother's name and your father's name, sir?
Well, my mother's name was Charlotte Barnwell. You know, my father, Julius Virgin. And like I said, I was born under strange circumstances. I really don't want to go too deep in that, but I'm his only child.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for my father and my mother and God allowing it, he would have no children.
Mm.
From this child comes 10 grandchildren for him. And you know, brother Josh, let me share this with you. I remember taking my father to his doctor appointment, and we did something that we never did before. He said, pull the car over. We got out on the city block, Baltimore City, and we was walking and talking. And he told me, he said, I'm so proud of you, son. Now, he always gave us love, but the way he said it, he said, I'm so proud of you. And I looked, and he said, that man don't lie. Now, remember, my father was raised in Harlem, New York. So he no con, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And then he shared with me, he went to Muhammad Mosque number 7. And due to some circumstances that I care not to mention in the public setting, he didn't really care about the search. He came from the South. He had to flee the South. That's how he got to Harlem, to make a long story short. And he told me, he said, that man, he said, he don't lie. I looked at him and, you know, over the days, I kept playing it. My father passed away within 60 something days after that. Yeah. But that message, that's still with me now. And brother, my father, I'm still studying him. I'm still studying just the way he was a quiet man, firm, you know, and I still study this guy, man. I'm a Black man that actually loved his Black father. You know that, and the Nation of Islam have a lot to do with it because it allowed me to see him clearer, to see his struggle, to see his sacrifices as a man, taking care of a family, because he didn't have to do that. So I just wanted to add that in it, brother, that man means a lot to me today, and I do not want their DNA to be made mockery of, because they gave us all they had.
Yes, sir. All praise due to Allah. And my sister Miriam says, all praise due to Allah. My sister Naima says, all praise due to Allah. Beautiful. And people are showing you love all across the country. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
What type of music do you like to listen to, sir?
Well, I like a variety of music. You know, I come out that conscious rap era.
Okay, okay.
I like a little of that gangster rap.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because they are our people.
Yes, sir.
I like them. And I like a little jazz. I love the minister work. You know, I like I said, classic. it's not too much music that I dislike. Because the part that I like about music is, brother, they're like the ambassadors that maybe some of the planet need to listen to. See, they can come into a setting and they can bring different instruments. The thing is, they bring harmony and peace in order to have a good set.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I see the teachings in that, brother.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And my sister Miriam says, what a way to honor your parents. May Allah continue to be pleased with them. Thank you all for showing love. And yes, a great insight with your music. My next question for you, sir, is what would you like your legacy to be?
Honestly, brother Joshua, I haven't thought about that. Like I said, I don't really analyze myself. When I do something, I truly believe that it should be done. You know, I don't find nothing special that I have done in life. I had a sister, I can't recall her name. She said, brother, you really need to write a book about yourself. I said, honestly, brother, I don't know what to put in here. Because I don't see myself, honestly. I just see myself when a task or a mission come up, playing my role in it. And then I like to go in back setting, you know, go lay back, man. I'm not a man that stay in the light.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, great. Well, you've given us a lot of information as well as inspiration. Honest Dripping says, Assalamu alaikum, salam. Brother Nelson Ramos, always showing love, says, alaikum salam. ASA family, dear family, showing love already from Massachusetts. Thank you all who watched. We're going to put this on YouTube so they may stay up there forever so that people can hear the great history, rich history of the Nation of Islam, but also the great rich history of our brother, student Captain Larry Muhammad and his family, because he watched us grow up. We grew up with his children. That's and right. This is the most I've ever spoken to you and learned so much from an interview. This is why I love doing my work, because now I feel even more connected to you and your family. It was an honor to see you at Savior's Day. Thank you for your kind spirit and your energy. And may Allah continue to bless you and your family, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's
May
Podcast.
I say one word, brother Joshua?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Brother, I am honored to see you and what you're doing. You know, you the first interview I have done since I've been in the Nation of Islam. Like I said, I like to lay back, brother. You know, I like to watch those in front of me develop. And if I can help, then I like to just go and just shift a little, brother. I watch you grow up from a child. And what you doing now, brother, you building the archives. Because you made me look inward today. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't, I just prayed to Allah that I do a good job or close to a good job, brother. You know what I'm saying? And be able to answer your questions 100%. And I thank you. I'm grateful to you, brother. You know, you have actually today gave me something to look back on, brother. You know, I'm going to start looking at my legacy. And what I can tell you one thing I would like in it, that I was a good Muslim.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That I was a good father, a good husband. And then most of all, brother, that I am willing to give my life for our freedom.
Wow.
To see 2 or 3 generations, they don't have to go through this. See, I already lived, brother. Like to live longer, but it's not a big issue. I'm not suicidal. I want to make that clear. You know, that to see our people free, to see us with land of our own, I'm tired of, man, raking somebody else's yard and have no title for mine. So I love you, brother Joshua.
I love you more, sir.
You helped the man out today.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
And I love our nations. I love your listening audience, brother. And I pray to Allah that he bless you to do big things.
Praise be to Allah. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you all for watching.